Madam Moderator. Good evening to Honorable Prime Minister, colleague panelists, listening audience. With the approval of vaccines and the rollout of vaccination programs across the globe, there is an increasing optimism for global economic rebound and positive growth to return to most regions of the world. In fact, in January of this year, the IMF released growth prospects for the entire global economy. Global growth is expected to reach around 5.5% by the end of 2021. In the United States of America, it is expected that that region will grow by 5.1%. This is essential for us here in the Caribbean. Closer to home, Latin America and the Caribbean region, we're expected to grow by 4.1%. And for us here in the Federation, you've heard it from Honorable Prime Minister earlier this evening, that the estimate is for the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis to grow by 5.5% in 2021 and 5% in 2022. This is consistent with all the projections made by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank for the ECCU economies, which are expected to return positive growth in 2021. It is also anticipated, however, that the tourism sector would continue to be slow, with prospects for better performances in 2022-2023 tourism season. There is still relatively high levels of uncertainty as it relates to the prospects for recovery. The prospects are much more improved, however, for 2021 as opposed to our experiences in 2020. Taking a little deeper look at what's happening in the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis, we are expecting, as you've heard earlier, that the negative experiences we've had in terms of the construction sector, which saw a negative 16.5% growth in 2020, we're expecting now for 2021 a rebound of this sector, which will grow by 8.9% and thereby contribute in the vicinity of 14% to our GDP. The financial intermediation sector is expected to grow by 2.9% and contribute around 12% to GDP. Our real estate and business services sector is expected to grow by 2.8% and contribute around 10% to GDP. Public administration in 2020 was the only sector to experience positive growth, around 3.8%. In 2021, we expect this sector to grow by 4.3%, again contributing around 10% to GDP. The education sector, which also includes our offshore education facilities, would be expected to grow by 5.1% and contribute around 8% to GDP. In terms of our economic recovery and transformation, the pathway rests heavily on our ability to have both government and businesses, and I would want to add the general public, finding a way to coexist with COVID-19. It would also be determined It would also be determined by how well we continue to prevent or manage the spread of the virus within the Federation. This therefore underscores the wisdom in our government's early investment in vaccines and the strong advocacy of the government to ensure that as many citizens and residents as possible are vaccinated in the quickest time possible. Some critical issues for our consideration includes how soon the Federation would be able to safely resume regular tourism business and welcome both stayover and cruise visitors to our islands. Our ability to get things moving and to accelerate expansion in agriculture, manufacturing, and the development of small business would be crucial. How soon would we be able to make notable inroads to the digital transformation of the government and private business? The readiness and willingness of the private sector to invest in our country. We also have to consider the strength of the financial management mechanisms of the government, which must include measures to sustain a stable fiscal environment, stimulate economic growth, economic transformation, and maintain adequate social safety net systems targeted at the most vulnerable members of our society. The areas of focus, therefore, would be critical as the crisis offers many opportunities for us to accelerate important reforms. The overarching goal, therefore, has been accepted and currently being worked on by the government, and therefore is embedded in our 2021 budget. And a number of our public entities have also embraced it and have set plans in motion to achieve better results over the medium term. The strategic direction of the government is to support recovery of the economy and to sustain that recovery anticipated in 2021 into the medium and long term. An important element will be to improve access to reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy sources. This, we believe, could be achieved by pursuing opportunities for increasing alternative sources use of energy. The most important project at this point in time from the government's perspective is the solar farm that is soon to be developed by Skelec. The government would also have in its arsenal the review of the existing legislative framework to support additional investments in renewable energy. The private sector and private individuals are also encouraged to seek out opportunities for integrating renewable energy, such as solar energy, into their daily use. Implementing reforms and the various plans necessary for digital transformation is of optimum priority. Our experience with the impact of COVID-19 leaves no doubt that the government is on the right path when it launched its digital transformation strategy. Work is ongoing within government, and some elements of the digital transformation agenda would be rolled out by the cable during the course of this year. The government has also adopted, as you have heard earlier from the Honorable Prime Minister, a pro-growth approach to the development of the capital budget. During 2020 December, the National Assembly approved a capital budget of $192.7 million, of which over 70%, 141 million, would be used directly to impact the construction sector. So, in summary, we are going big on construction. To date, some projects that were rolled out from 2020 are progressing towards completion, and others are moving from the design phase to implementation over the coming weeks. We anticipate that these investments, along with private sector investment projects planned for implementation, would help to boost the construction sector and deliver positive growth, provide employment, and improve overall our physical infrastructure. Another critical element of our strategy to assist with economic recovery is the leveraging of the platinum brand of the CBI program. We also intend to continue supporting the development of the agriculture sector and manufacturing. In terms of the agriculture sector, support for agriculture is important for boosting food and nutrition security of our country. The agriculture sector is fully supported in the current budget to continue enhancements in the production capacity of the sector. There are multiple objectives, which include lowering the food import bill, creating employment and business opportunities for our people, and, as said earlier, enhancing the country's food and nutrition security. To achieve success, we have to work to overcome the challenges that have impacted the sector for many years. These include outdated and inefficient production methods, which leads to high costs of production and high costs of produce. The lack of adequate irrigation and other important infrastructure. Lastly, destruction of crops by pests such as monkeys and other feral animals. The commitment of the government, therefore, extends beyond the resources spent in 2020 as part of the stimulus program. The commitment also expands beyond the resources earmarked in 2021. The commitments are also extended to a commitment to continue the modernization of land use policies, tackling predial nasally, and intensifying pest control. We are also on the move to improve the technical support to farmers, promoting investment in water infrastructure to support crop production, embedding the use of technology in farming and fishing in the Federation, promote buy local, eat local at the national level. There is no way of securing good results in terms of stimulating economic recovery without giving continued attention to the active plans for human resource development and legislative reform. This evening, I would end on a similar note to the last time I was invited to join this discussion on leadership matters. And that is to say, it is clear that actions that the country must take are numerous, and the government cannot be expected to do it alone. The private sector would have to play a significant role. There is also a role for each individual citizen and resident. At the government level, we have identified some of the key initiatives to be implemented in order to support economic recovery and transformation of the Federation. We believe if the private sector, the public sector, can join together to implement a realistic program of action, the St. Kitts and Nevis economy will rebound to positive growth by the end of 2021 and also to sustain that growth over the medium term. Thank you for your kind attention.
And thank you for providing us with that important update. We'll hear now from the Chief Executive Officer at the Tourism Authority, Raquel Brown.
Thank you, Jacqueline. Good evening to my fellow panelists. Good evening to the Honorable Prime Minister. I have the honor of hopefully providing some confidence for those of us who are in the tourism industry. For the last year, for many of us, it has been extremely difficult time. The travel and tourism industry was the most hardest hit throughout the world because of the global pandemic. At the end of 2020, when the borders opened for many destinations before us, we opened our borders on October 31st. We saw many destinations open as early as June, and for many of us in the tourism industry and many of my stakeholders, they were very